Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show and your morning edition of Second Breakfast. Already waiting in the wings before I even got here. Sorry to keep you waiting. I had to do a couple little things. Richard, Mr.
Hey,
Bloodwood.
good morning or good
Doing?
afternoon.
How's it
Actually, it
going?
is afternoon now. 1 minute in.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Fantastic, man. I had a
Yes,
great
so
weekend. How was your Father's Day?
it was good, good, good. How was yours?
Really good. No complaints. Had some ribs for dinner. Got a couple of cute gifts and some chocolate. Even though I'm on a diet,
Mhm.
that won't last long. I'll probably just share it with the kid, the boy. Um, I'm sure you saw the Saturday show where I got these bad boys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, I'm,
yeah. I
I'm
watched that. I watched your video this morning.
nice.
So
Thanks. Appreciate it.
yeah, I always want to respond to those things, and you're never there to to actually respond to them. So that was like, all right, I drove to work early today, so I can
What's up,
just
Dan the Toy Man?
Yeah, so and now I can actually respond to
Feel free, fire
that
away. I knew I
video.
was gonna ruffle some feathers. I know Mage's Musing's gonna come in here and give me a just roll random reaction tables. Why? They're animals. They're gonna behave a certain way,
Yeah,
the same way they've behaved for you know most of recorded civilization.
right.
There's certain things that and someone told me well, not everybody knows that. Well, here I am to impart some knowledge on you, make your games a little better, a little more realistic. I know it's fun to scare the crap out of players, with the,
Hmm.
the lions and tigers and bears out in the woods or the jungle, but
Hmm.
you know there's a reason we don't hear about that all the time. And even back in the day, it didn't take long for the mountain lions and things like that to get the message.
Right. No, no, I completely agree with you there. I mean, the only time that a wild animal would would attack people, at night or even in the daytime and everything, is
Hmm.
if they are in distress of some kind. Um, they might have rabies, which was another, thing.
Oh,
But
good point. I didn't even think
yeah,
about that
you're
one.
not going to get a
Especially
pack of them doing that, though. You'll get,
one or
you'll
two.
get, one individual that's usually
Hmm.
doing that kind of thing. Same thing with them if they're starving. It'll
Hmm.
be one, usually the outcast of a lion pack or something along that lines.
Hmm.
So that you could have in there, but like you said, also that's not something that's going to happen very frequently at all. You know,
It should
um,
be a one. I mean, if you
yeah,
did see, like that's why I put in there. If you put in a note that there's this lion, or this
yeah.
bear, but then make it a legend, a rumor, so that when the party
Mhm.
finally encounter it, and then they maybe even
Right,
take it
right.
down. They take it out, and then they get to wear
Mhm.
that bear fur back into town, going, "Yeah, we
Yeah.
solved your problem."
Yeah, it would be some kind of a rabid diseased animal that's a
Mhm.
specific target. It's not really a random thing. It's something that you caught a rumor about, right? There's this, plague bear that
Mhm.
is
Right.
wandering around in the area. So be on the lookout. The
Hmm.
other thing you brought up, it was like, well, when did that become a thing when you're talking about, having the watches and everything, and how long are they or whatever. So US military, the watches just start in basic training and
Hmm.
they're 1 to 2 hours, typically 2 hours.
Hmm.
And you will rotate out through it. And the way that now we have, the technology of clocks that you can go and alert the person about 15 minutes before their shift comes on
Yeah.
and kick them in the ass if they're not up because that's cutting into your time.
Right.
Um, but how do you not fall asleep? Training, literally
Mhm.
training. You're,
But when you're the first level adventuring party, only
nope,
the
nope. The first level adventuring party had from zero to first level to receive that kind of training.
even the
Um,
magic users and the clerics and
yep,
the
the
thieves.
consequences of falling asleep are far more severe than not falling asleep. You know,
I,
that's
I would argue that the magic user and the cleric at least might have a little more or a little less training in that.
well, that's why they usually don't. They'll never sleep in the middle. I mean, they'll never have the guard duty in the middle.
Right.
It'll always
Like I
be
said.
at the end or the front.
Yeah.
That way they can get 6 hours, because that's the other thing that's oftentimes I think misconstrued, that the rest period needs to be 8 full hours. No, it needs to be 6 hours.
Hmm.
All right, of uninterrupted. And then they, in the morning, when they are, doing prayer or studying, no, they cannot multitask, especially not a magic user when studying the spells for the day. All right, that takes 100% of their focus. You
I
know,
would argue that like okay, we're assuming that like that during their study time they're memorizing one spell at a time, so you could
exactly.
interrupt that spell and go, okay, well, during, let's say they got a 3 hour watch. During hour number two, you were memorizing this spell, but unfortunately, here comes the encounter. You lose that. You
No,
might have still gotten the
nope,
first
nope,
spell.
nope,
Really?
nope.
Too granular?
Yeah, yeah. Too granular. Number one, number two. They're not, when they are memorizing a spell, they are 100% immersed in memorizing that spell. They're not seeing a damn thing other than reading over that page over and over and over again to memorize every incantation, every amount of ingredient, every whatever is required for that spell. I would
Right, but like
an
like like I said,
an
at first level,
interruption
a
an
first level magic
interruption
user
of
only has
that.
that one spell. But let's say he's a fifth level magic user, and let's say he starts with his first level spells at 5 a.m., six
Right.
a.m., 7 a.m. He's into his second or third level spells. He's already kind of done the memorization of the first levels,
Yeah, and any interruption will prevent them from having,
even the first level that they've already
their
memorized.
spells. Yeah,
All
yes.
of them,
It's
really.
required. It's
I
required
think that's a little too punitive.
uninterrupted. I would not allow them. I would say nope. You have no spells for the day. All right, you cannot be interrupted during that time. It's just, that's what I would do. I would go with
I would
that and say,
literally, as a player, go, oh, but I'm not moving. I guess I'm gonna have to stay here another 8 hours.
um, you can stay there as the rest of the party moves along.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
you
it's
know,
just too
it's
punitive. I want
it's
to get them
it's
up and
just
going.
it's
There's
just a
plenty of
requirement.
other
It is
things to
the
do.
it's the application of the game mechanic that you cannot abridge from it. Same thing with the clerics and everything. Now I
Exactly my
nuance the
point,
clerics a little
Sean.
bit more, where it doesn't take them that long to do a single prayer will get them all of their spells for the day, but they better had demonstrated their domain.
Well, like in AD&D, Sean, maybe you can back me up. Priest's first, second, and I think third level spells were memorized like magic user spells, and it was only the higher level spells that you actually had to pray for, according to the DMG.
But they could they
That could
could
be
pr-
different.
they could pray for them, and the magic user can prepare their spells before they go to sleep,
Right,
the night
exactly,
before.
Sean. Hmm.
As long as they have uninterrupted sleep, the mechanic basically says,
Hmm.
um, yeah, but the thing that Merlin is putting in there is that you're not accounting for the fact that their experience will make them memorize their lower level spells much faster than when they
Well,
were lower
actually,
level.
his previous comment in 1E, you needed 15 minutes period per spell level to
Right,
rememorize.
to
So that adds
memorize.
up. That just adds up.
Oh yeah,
Uh, so I mean,
yeah, that
because if
might
you
be
just did it by
several.
that, if
You
you
know,
just did it by the 15 minutes to memorize, okay, it's first through second. If you took it like that, 15 minutes, and just went 15 minutes per spell level to rememorize it, A first level magic user, okay, I'm done in 15 minutes. Let's go. A 12th level magic user, I'm going to need 17 hours to get all my spells back.
If you did it like, because they say per spell level,
Hmm.
all right, not per spell, but per spell level. So
Hmm.
you learn all of your, so you need 15 minutes for every one of your first level spells. All
Yes.
right. You need a half an hour for every one of your second level spells.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So 45 minutes. So you're not pushing into 17 hours, but you're certainly pushing
Yeah, I
into a
was being
number of
hyperbolic.
hours. All
Yes,
right.
I was being
Of that.
hyperbolic, and yeah, that's because that's more how I do things.
Yeah.
Um, because at low levels, I want to get them back on the road and doing the things. When they're high level, they can kind of dictate what they're doing and when, and they can like they're a little more in
Yeah.
control
But
to what they're going to
there's
do.
also the idea that, maybe they didn't cast all of their spells the day before.
That's
And so
always
they're
the
still
case,
memorized. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, when you're 18th level and you're able to cast ninth level, magic user spells, how often are you casting those ninth level spells?
right? Right.
You know what
That's
I'm
like
saying? It's like,
unless it's uh, required by the mission that you have to go in and cast a
a
certain
gate
ninth level.
spell or something crazy like
Right.
that.
That's the
You know,
goal of the
you're
adventure,
probably
the
not
mission
doing
for the
that
day.
once a month, even. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like,
Right. And like
yeah,
wish, you don't even memorize that one. It's like, oh, we need a wish. Okay, everybody shut down. I'm gonna be busy for 4.5 hours or whatever it takes to
yeah, whatever
memorize
it
this
takes
wish
to
stuff.
memorize that and then cast it. And
Yeah.
again, when you get to those kind of spells, like you're not casting those willy nilly either. They have too many
Right.
negative consequences for it going
Even
wrong.
six and up. There's
Yeah.
some spells
I
in
mean,
6 and up where
I would
like Spirit
certainly,
Rack and True Name. You got to do some research and shit.
yeah, I would,
But
I
the
would do, I
Bubba.
would certainly look at it and say, because, the rules mechanics of, 1E or whatever, they're not perfect either, and I'm
No, no,
sure
no, no.
you'll come
We
up with
just
other
we just tend
things
to.
and saying, hey, you know what? If it's a spell that they've memorized for the last week and a half, and even if they did spend it, it doesn't take them that much longer, or use their intelligence modifier to reduce their overall number by
Mhm.
15 minutes that they would
I
need for
like the
each
idea of
spell.
the. I like the idea of the 1 to 4. Like if the 1 to 4 for uh to rate how well they went up a level. Where it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks. I like that idea. If you use that, like say so far they've been spot on. You
Yeah.
know, uh, so it only takes them 25% if the rating is a 1, but if the rating is a 4, then it's going to take them 100% of the time.
Yeah. I mean, I used
Something
to do
like that
that with
to
their,
give
yeah,
them.
I used to do that with their training. I used to do that with
Yeah,
their,
exactly what I mean.
yeah, I used to do that with all of those things. It was like, or their intelligence, like if the intelligence, if you had an intelligence modifier again, maybe it reduces your spell memorization by 15 minutes, per spell level. So a first level spell, you're practically memorizing it as soon as you read it. For as long as it takes you to
You
read them
could.
through, it's not even going to take the full 10, 15 minutes. Second level spells might only take you 15 minutes. Third level spells you know, um, might take you 30 minutes instead of 45, and so on and so forth. So there, and that's only with a plus one, what is that, a 16 intelligence. If you have a 17 or an 18, you have plus three. Now you're basically almost instantly memorizing first
Mhm.
through third level just
Sure.
by reading them
Sure.
through. It'll take you
Mhm.
less than 15 minutes to do so.
I kind of noticed something just now during this conversation, thanks to not just Sean from Merlin's musings, but Daniel Price, also known as DM Beelzebubba, that 1E seems to be like the great go-to fallback game that we all go back to for like when we want really like articulate rulings and
Hmm.
and the best informed process to like if we're playing another game Bubba, he's running Dragon Slayer, but when he's having a problem with Dragon Slayer rules, he'll go back to 1E. Sean, he just does 1E because he knows it's the best.
Yeah.
But even when I'm running other games, like it might even be a traveler game, and I'll pull out my DMG to look for info, for societies or whatever. It's just always the great, you can always rely on 1E to help you out no matter what you're playing. You guys ever notice
Right.
that?
Yeah. No, it's I mean, I certainly recognize that there are things that are written in 1E that even Gary Gygax did not follow. And,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
But
and
it
I'm
but it
sure
kind of
that was one of them
transcends
too.
a
I'm
lot of
sure
that,
that was one of them.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do
I
know that
mean,
he did follow with a passion the expense of leveling up.
oh yeah, yeah.
Because
I
I
do
know
too.
Ernie said over and over again how many times his 12th level or 14th level magic user had to sell off virtually every magic item he had just so he could level to the next level.
I do it too. My players hate it, but it's like you don't just that's what when I first understood and first learned about like third and fifth edition where there was no training time and
Mhm.
the players could just switch classes by going up a level. I'm just like, what kind of freaking pussyfoot and baby crap is this? I mean, seriously, were
Yeah,
you just going to give them everything? No, you've got to train.
yeah. I've come across, like,
Oh,
I mean, I've done it both ways where I never let you instantly level up, but you need at least one full night's rest to
mhm.
level up, and preferably in a place where you can get training. But then I've had the nightmare situation of a dungeon master that um, never let us to go back to a town where I could even pick up new spells. I was third level, all right, with just the same like two first level spells in my in my spell book, my traveling spell book, and he
Wow.
never let us go back to a village or any place where I can learn new spells. And
I've got a video coming up on sort of that topic.
yeah.
It's funny how, especially um, in newer rules, that I find that they do this thing that could easily be solved by actually just being creative, and maybe that's the problem.
Mm,
Where DMs, will fall back on penalties versus creativity, to make
yeah.
the game harder and seem more. Oh, this game is. You suck as a DM. You haven't had a friggin' original idea since
Yeah.
1999. Um,
Well, I've had some sucky DMs, that's for damn sure, which is why I end up
being the
being the
eternal DM.
forever being the forever DM, because you know I just I've had some, that was like one of the worst experiences. I actually committed suicide with that character. I threw that character off a cliff. I
I've
just,
done that too. I've done that
yeah,
this year. I had a
I'm like, you know
character.
what? There's no advantage to playing a magic user in this game, the way you're running it, because you refuse. I actually called him right out and I said, "You're refusing to let us go to a place where I can learn second or third level. So we're not finding any scrolls where I can pick it up. You're not doing anything. My
Mhm.
character is completely useless. We're fighting things now that are not impacted by sleep, which was one of the spells that I had, and the magic missile wasn't even. I was like, so I'm here throwing sling stones, more so than anything else, because you just don't let me do it. I said I'd rather just roll up a new character. A first level fighter will be functioning much, much better, than what you're allowing me to do.
No,
You
no,
know,
don't take this the wrong way, Bubba. But that's why I always run. Like if I get shitty stats, I'm just going to run a first level fighter, the absolute bottom line
yeah,
testing character to see how this game's going to run. Because at worst case scenario, you got more hit points, or ostensibly you should have more hit
right.
points. Which makes me want to pose the question: max hit points at first level, yay or nay? everybody out there.
Oh yes, absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
why you would ever? It's like if I literally was at a table, brand new table, and said, okay, roll your hit die for first level fighter. If I rolled less than a six, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna bow out, guys.
Yeah, no,
This
no,
is
it's
this already
absolute.
feels so punitive, and I know everybody's gonna go, well, that's how we did it in the old days. Yeah, you know what? We did it in the old days when we had all day to play. I am almost 60
Yeah,
years old. I don't have time for this freaking bullshit.
no,
Okay,
it's no
you know
one
what I
does
mean?
that anymore. No one does it anymore. No one.
Mm, no,
It's like
convention people do it. I've heard a lot of
I've
stories in the last year where
yeah,
people are still doing
I've
it,
never seen
and
anybody in a convention do it either. No one does it anymore. No one does it anymore. No one serious does it anymore.
yeah, yeah,
If
right. I
you're
mean,
if
because
you're doing that, you are not a serious game master. Sorry, you're just not. There the game is dangerous enough. You don't need somebody going out there with one hit point. How much time are you going to spend re-rolling up characters?
exactly,
During
if
a
I
game
spend more
session
time rolling up
because you
characters
have them
than
go out with
playing,
one hit point makes no sense whatsoever.
it's just
Yeah,
back in the day, it made sense because they had to play through it and
I
figure it out.
seriously doubt they did that back in the day. We didn't do that we didn't do that as brand new 11-year-olds running AD&D first edition for the first time.
Really? Oh, we
No,
had years of doing that.
no.
Years.
The only thing that my dungeon masters back then were like, they I don't know why they just came right out and said it, was that there's no way that you'll ever have access to a resurrection spell. All right.
Shellback's got a
Unless
question. What
unless
makes
you're a
you not a
ninth
serious
level
GM?
character, nobody will spend that kind of thing on you.
Shellback asked a question. Doing what makes you not a serious GM?
What makes you not is if you're letting your characters go out there, like your players roll a first level character and only have one hit point to go on an adventure. It's not serious. It's like
Yeah, I mean,
you
literally, you stub your
all
toe,
you're
you
going
fall
to
into a
do is
coma.
you're going to create a circumstance where your players are going to have to re-roll a character after maybe the first encounter. I said,
Mhm.
okay, we have to slow down and let this person, because AD&D first level characters are not a 10-minute thing to do. And then you have to come up with a way of, well, how am I going to integrate this character into the party?
Mhm.
How am I going to have them appear suddenly, or
Well,
which is not
Sean,
serious
Sean would
again.
just go poop you
It's
there.
it's like
But
it becomes a hindrance to the game master to have players that are just that, unsurvivable
fragile.
in that kind of situation.
Camel
I mean,
Camel
it
World
was
Camel World called them hopeless characters.
yeah.
Um, and I ran a Shadow Dark character with OGGM. My highest stat was 7, and that was charisma.
Yeah, let me see something. I want to
I
look up
I, I,
in.
I I played for many a game, but uh,
I know that D&D BX
mhm,
D&D BX has a rule in there that said no one should have less than 2 hit points at first level. They'll let you re-roll ones and twos. All right, and that is in BX. All right, I guarantee you in AD&D there's a rule written in there, after the first, that says that there's a minimum number of hit points a first level character should have.
Well, I know a lot of games have like if you roll less than half the die, you can roll again, or different things. Sean, here's the thing: one hit point can literally be you were killed by the scratch of a house cat, and you,
Mm.
you you lost 1 point, went into a coma. That I mean, nobody would let their child out the door if they knew their child was that weak. The whole
You would
town
not
would be
be,
like, "Watch out for
yeah,
Bobby! He stubs his toe. He's going into a coma. Don't scare him."
you wouldn't
Oh,
be
now he wants to be a
adventuring.
big adventurer. No, we're going to put him back in his padded room so he doesn't die. I mean,
You
it's not
wouldn't.
just about the character. These characters should have families. Not everybody could be an orphan. or new to town. Those folks that grew up in that town, those
Mm.
folks would know those kids and go, "Oh, no, 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 no! You're not going running off with that sword. You're gonna hurt yourself. You've only got one hit point." Think about it. Nobody ever does that. Everybody's like, I'm an orphan. I'm asexual. I never want to get married, and I just want to go kill things and take their stuff because they're cardboard cutouts. These player characters should have families and connections and things like that that would know how tough their own, you know, either family member or citizen is, and they'd be like, yeah, no, 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 you are not ready to go adventuring, my son. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. That's
You
why
wouldn't get
I
out of you wouldn't get out of you wouldn't get out of basic training in any military branch with a low
one hit
constitution.
point, a one hit point fighter. Yeah,
Yeah,
they would discharge you and say you don't have what it takes to be a fighter.
right.
You know,
Um,
it would just be
I'm
like,
looking.
no.
I'm looking for it. I'm in AD&D, the DMG, looking for character generation. Let's see.
They don't know their hit points, but they know that if they took 1 point or the equivalent amount of force or impact, that person goes into a coma. Someone punched them and they didn't wake up for a week.
It's not there.
You know what I mean?
Um,
One hit point is so little; it's so easily, you know, uh, uh, inflicted that
mm,
the townsfolk would. No, 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 no. I'm arguing that the townsfolk would notice that so and so only has but one single hit point, or is so physically weak that they shouldn't be, they should be protected. Kind of like I hate to put it like this, but kind of like how women were treated. They're fragile. They're made out of glass. You can't let them go off, riding a horse because they fall off the horse. They're going to die because they had one hit point. Yeah, I don't know how we would know about the supercharged hit points, but I mean, just the encounters and things like that. It just see my basic goal is to get players into an actual adventure and
mm.
not like a funnel, and get them into something, where I can stop like feeling like I want to. Not saying
All
that I
right.
would,
So,
but
so
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Here's what I pulled up. I couldn't get it out of the book itself because it wasn't letting me scan the book. So so by the book, raw means that you add your Constitution bonus. This could result in characters starting with as little as 1 to 2 hit points. Okay. Now, maximum hit points. Many DMs and tournament modules streamline setup by first level characters at the maximum possible value. All right.
Mhm.
So that's there. Reroll minimums. To prevent instantly fatal characters, DMs often allow players to reroll ones or stipulate that a character automatically gets minimum value, such as Gary Gygax's rule of half the hit die minimum, or a flat rule of half the maximum hit die value. All right. So it's never been a point where, it was the absolute, you could have one hit point or two hit points, and that's your starting off. There's always been other, optional rules thrown into place, and again, re-rolling the ones comes straight from BX, and that was in most likely in Holmes edition, which predated AD&D first edition. So Constitution Kicker, a common OSR house rule. No, I'm not even going to get to it. I just want to talk about the older ones. So in virtually all of them, um, including tournament play, as you were mentioning, tournament play used maximum hit points for first level.
You just want, like, for me, I just want to get them into a point where they
Mm-hmm.
aren't playing the paranoid, terrified people who shouldn't even be on the adventure to begin with. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, a magic user, even with
feels
their
so
maximum hit points at first
emasculating.
level, should still be trying to avoid direct
Oh,
combat.
absolutely. Yeah,
You know, I mean,
absolutely.
it's built into the hit die type. You don't need it built into the fact that they rolled incredibly low for their for their first
Mhm.
level hit points.
Because Omen likes to point out, first level fighter is a veteran. He's been in a few fights. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe even in a campaign, that lasted a year or longer. Where he probably took some points of damage. If he took 1 point and went into a coma, they'd send him back home and they'd discharge him. You know what I mean? Because the likelihood that he only took exactly one is probably, at best 1 in 6. He probably took 4 or 5 points of damage. He had 1 hit point. He's in negatives. He probably wouldn't have even survived. Because they just didn't have the way to take care of him on the front lines. Warrior, he goes down. They just leave him there, and people probably step on him. During the next hour or so. You know what I mean?
right.
Fighting back and forth in the trenches, the front lines, whatever. It just, I just want to get him into, like I think it was Fezzik, uh, Andre the Giant's characters
Hmm.
said in The Princess Bride. I just hate for people to die embarrassed.
Yeah,
You know, I would
yeah,
rather them. I don't want them to go. Yeah, well, thanks for the game, guys, but I'm gonna leave after an hour of play. I don't want them to think that this is the way it's always going to be. It's always going to be, on maximum difficulty, and one mistake means you're rolling up a character. I mean, I know it
mm,
should be kind of that way, but I mean, let's get that game actually started before we fully take off the kid
right.
gloves to a point, because you never know who's in the game. You could have a veteran player go, yeah, I'm dead after being in the game for 15 minutes. I'm just gonna. I'll see you guys later. And then next thing
Mhm.
you know, the new guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go with them because if it's gonna be that hard for the veteran player, I don't think this is a game for me.
Yeah,
Not coddle
yeah.
them, but the hobby has got enough problems as it is
At
without like
at
scaring
first
people
level,
away.
the characters can die pretty quickly. You can
Mhm.
still have, you can still have quite a number of player characters that fall in that first adventure and everything. I mean, geez, we had a total party wipe in our Barrows and Borderlands game. All right,
Mhm.
and we were
Or
all,
overly cautious,
yeah. I want to think we were
Sean.
fourth level or something. I mean, we got wiped out basically by whites, but and we were taking 1 to 4 Constitution um, energy drain,
Hmm.
hits, and in most of the cases, like
Hmm.
our magic users were both killed in 1 hit, because they were weakened already at that point, and they just took a hit and they were dead. They were down. It was like, oh, you're dead with that loss, and
Hmm.
yeah. So that's,
Oh yeah, of
again,
course, Sean. Oh.
it's just a it doesn't need to be ridiculously difficult. I see that the mention here of regardless of hit points, most players make it more difficult than it needs to be. Well, that's true too.
Yeah, yeah.
But you
By
also
being
mentioned earlier
overly
about like monster hit
aggressive.
die. So monster hit points, I don't sit there and I like, if I have you fighting 10 different orcs, all right, I'm not rolling d8 10 times to determine how many each individual one has. I'll say these are your common orcs. They will have 5 hit points per hit die. So 5 hit points. Their next level of the orc, if I want to differentiate a little bit, might have 6. Their lieutenant will have 7. Their boss, their commander, whatever, will have 8, and maybe their king might have a whole other hit die level or
Mhm.
two beyond that point. But I don't get into the granular of rolling up every single individual hit points things. I just come up with
Yes, they are.
categories
They are,
of
Bubba. They absolutely are.
of expertise of each one. Yeah, so now there's other game systems out there where you'll have your hit points are your constitution score, and then you might
Yeah,
only
like
gain
Civilization
2 hit
plans.
points for each level there beyond.
All of the Red Room games, your hit points are your Constitution, and if you're lucky, depending on which archetype you take, you might get 1 or 2 d6, and that's it for the entire history of your character. You'll
Yeah,
never get any. So you're
yeah,
walking around with
yeah.
15
Gangbusters
to
does that
20 hit
too.
points.
Gangbusters BX does that as well. It's like you have your con bonus. I mean, your constitution, maybe a con bonus you'll gain at every level beyond that point, but you're not going to ever hit you're not ever going to hit like 24, 25 hit points.
Right.
And a shotgun does 12. You know what I'm saying? It's like you take a hit from a shotgun, that shotgun will kill 90% of the individuals it hits, which kind of makes sense.
Hmm.
I wonder if a D&D game would work that way, well that way. You get your con bonus and then your constitution has hit points and that's it, and maybe you only gain 2 hit points per level beyond.
There are games out there like that. Um, it really depends on what kind of tone you're looking for.
Mm.
If you want a sword and sandals game, people should not be able to take 10 arrows. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But if you want a little bit higher fantasy, then go for it.
Hmm.
I mean, if we had to play every game with realistic hit points, um, you know, you'd have to as a DM roll a lot of ones on the damage dice to keep the campaign alive more than six
Hmm.
months,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nobody
So.
wants to do that. And there are games out there like Gamma World. I think
Mhm.
it had a really really interesting way of doing hit points. You got a d6 hit points per constitution point, which could net you well over 50 hit points, but you
Mm.
probably weren't ever getting any more, and you
Right.
ran with that until you died or the game ended or whatever, and you felt like okay, I can get hit with the sword, I can get hit with the claw, I'm not gonna die, but someone starts breaking out a laser pistol or something, and all bets are off.
Mm.
And it really is about what kind of game, or how you want the game to feel in lethality.
Right.
If you want it to feel lethal, there are ways of doing it, um, besides just going with, oh, well, you rolled a 2 on your hit die, that's what you get. Um, well, uh, no, I've literally seen combats where players have been hit more than a dozen times in a big long prolonged battle with a
Yeah,
group of
like maximum
giant
hit points
soldiers.
of the arrow hitting them and everything like that. Well, the other thing you can do is, I mean, if you want to
And then
be
there was Boromir
granular with
who got
description,
stapled to a tree.
you can say, well, you know what? Your starting hit points, really your constitution plus your starting hit points bonus, is your physical ability, and then later on your character is gaining experience, that's dodging, doing whatever,
Mhm.
just being able to avoid
um
taking damage, and your
I,
con
I gotta
bonus is still physical build up. But you have to have some kind of a difference in ability when you're at half your physical hit points, when you're at a
Mhm,
quarter of your physical hit points. you know
mhm.
you're not fully functional with 1 hit point,
No,
and
yeah,
then
no,
unconscious at 0. That
especially
makes
if you
no
woke
sense
up
either.
that day with 50 hit points, and some reason you got down to one, you're feeling like shit at one.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There
gotta
there
address
has
these
to
two
be
comments real quick before I forget.
some kind of a threshold where it's like, hey, you know what? If you're at 20, if you're at 10% of your original physical hit points, which in most cases would be, you know, um, 1, 2, 3, um, well, 10% of, yeah, so not even 10% would be like, yeah, if you're down to 1 hit point, you're almost non-functioning.
Mhm. Okay,
You're
real quick,
almost
Merlin.
non-functioning for
Merlin
even
says
for
D&D hit
fighters.
points. D&D hit points are an abstract concept, not just pure
Yeah.
endurance, but plot, armor, luck, etc. Except for the fact that no one have I ever seen in D&D or any RPG really has ever. I've never had a DM say, "Well, you lost 15 hit points because your endurance is low from a strenuous day." Nor have I taken a single point of luck damage. It's always perceived as just pure
Hmm.
meat in games.
Yeah.
No one ever does that. Uses those things with the abstract part of hit points and lowers them because players would fucking go insane. What do you mean I take luck damage? What's that? That's a new rule you just made up, pulled out of your ass, because it never existed. And while it may be in the description of hit points, in practice, I've only seen it
Yeah.
done for damage. And Bubba says here, hold on, so I can actually read it. Uh, you're not taking literally 10 arrows. What about the time that I literally took 10 arrows in a battle? Where there's literally the DM says, I rolled 50 d20s and you got hit with 10 arrows. Okay. Or, over the battle, you've been hit with arrows because that's what the enemy's using. And you've literally taken 10 arrows. By that point, you need to freaking, by half that point, you need to start
Yeah,
pulling
I mean,
arrows
I
out of your
agree with
body.
him here when he's saying in the last sentence, only the killing stroke is pure meat and organ hits. Well, no, only that first hit die plus con bonus is actual physical taking damage. All the rest is fatigue and dodging and the lack of being able to dodge
I
anymore
see.
and all of that. All of
Yeah,
that is
I've literally
abstract.
seen hit points as just more and more physical trauma that you take or can take than any other
Hmm.
abstract ideas, and players and DMs, etc. Literally using it as a measure of how much blood you can lose before you go down, and it's always that whack-a-mole thing. I've got one hit point, I'm up, I'm perfect. uh, I go down, cure light wounds. I'm back up. I still got one hit point. I can still swing.
Yeah.
You're right, Bloodworth. At
What
a certain percentage below your max, you should feel like shit and just toss in the towel.
Yeah,
And
I would go with like if I wanted to really get granular and really get
which no
simulationist,
one does, but yeah.
I would have a player like let's say you have a D8 as your hit die. So you had first level, you were a maximum D8. All right, and you took 2 points of damage. Oh, like okay, you have to roll on a D8 six or below to still maintain your ability. You know, but once you fail that, all right, now you're going to have penalties. You're going to have a minus. Let's say you fail that. Let's say you rolled a 7 or an 8, right, and you're down to 6 hit points. Well, now you have a -2 at everything you try to do, whether it's concentrate, you know, AC, attack, everything -2.
I can
All right.
instantly see why that was never done because it works both ways. Because you do even 1 point of damage to an orc, and suddenly he falls down on the ground like,
No,
oh, I
because
quit.
monsters die at 0. Monsters die at 0, no questions
Right,
asked.
but they would the players would argue that
All right.
well, I'm taking minus and they
Monsters also flee if they're intelligent. They also flee when you've broken their morale,
mhm.
and you shouldn't be rolling morale. You use your common sense and say, hey, you know what? They're not going to fight to
Sean
the
will
death.
disagree with you on that one, but
Well, no, the only thing that fights to the death is zombies and ghouls and those kinds of things.
no, I
Everything
mean
else is too
argue at
intelligent.
what point you roll the morale. Uh, James
I
L
wouldn't roll
says 10
morale.
arrows is just acupuncture and
Yeah,
should raise hit points.
I
I
would not.
don't think
Why would you?
any,
Why would you feel the need to roll morale as a DM? I look at the situation and I'll decide. No, you know what? That creature just watched its leader fall. All right, it's watched 1/3 of its party fall.
because it's
It's
written
gonna
in the
run.
rule books that there's a threshold that you once they get to that point they roll morale and further on down the road they do that, which I think were ways of teaching new DMs how to how to figure out at what point
Mm.
would they be thinking about those things, on a tactical scale versus common sense. Is like you said, common sense would say, well, they just watched their leader die on the first melee round. Freaking one archer goes thunk, leader flops down to the ground, and the other guys are, the enemy, the humans or whatever, are looking at the orcs like, now what, bitches? And they're like,
Well,
run.
orcs
You
might
know,
stay, but I wouldn't say that like goblins
yeah,
or
I
other
think
lesser
we
creatures
we
will hang
shouldn't
out.
be so absolutely
Mm.
freaking tied to every single possible rule we can
Yeah,
remember, and we
and
should
and and
rely more on our just it's our world.
yeah,
It's our
yeah,
decision to make whether or not we're going to do just about anything. And if the thought comes to our head like, hey, they just got their asses handed to them, real quick, like, they might decide that
yeah.
discretion
Uh,
being the better part of valor, even for orcs. Uh, Hightail it out of here
yeah,
because,
absolutely. There should not be. You should not have to be like, oh well, you know what? They failed their morale roll, so now they're going to, they're going to fight to the death, because that's what I consider a failure of morale roll, is whenever they decide I'm going to fight till the death. You know,
or conversely, run,
goblins have
because
a
I can
base
see it work either
50%
way.
morale to begin with. They are cowards. Yes, absolutely. So I don't need to roll to see if they've you know remained resolute in standing their ground. I'll look at the situation as it's occurred, and I'll decide right then and there, hey, you know what, they broke. You know, will a goblin that has taken 1 point of damage from its total 4 hit points, is it going to stay in a fight when it's already seen not 50% of its number, but if it's already seen like 3 or 4 of a party of 10 fall and its leader dead, and it took a nick, it's running. It's not going to stay and fight. It's like, all right, I'm out of here. You know, I mean, especially if they haven't, especially if they haven't harmed anybody on the other side. No, they're going to skedaddle
I'm gonna
real
fall
quick.
back on my number one rule, Sean. My absolute number one rule in playing any and all role playing games is the afterword in the DMG. I'm not going to let a
Yeah,
rules lawyer tell me how to run my world.
yeah. It's not
I'm God.
it's not arbitrary
Um,
decisions. It's basically the only time that you have to be consistent with your decisions. You know,
Absolutely.
but they're not arbitrary just because you're looking at a situation. Every situation is going to be different. You know,
What's up,
but you
squirrel?
can you can have certain circumstances where you're looking at it and you're going to say, as a general rule, lesser creatures are going to break when their leader falls. You know, as a general rule. All right. It's not arbitrary, because you're going to apply it every time that that particular type of creature ends up in a combat that starts turning against them. It doesn't diminish the game. It actually, you know, every time you're rolling 15 rolls to check morale, that diminishes the game. Because now you're spending all that time rolling dice to determine something that's not all that important, that you couldn't just decide on your own and say, nope, I'm going to say that these goblins are going to break.
Too many arbitrary decisions by the DM completely diminishes the game. Um, yeah.
The DM makes the
I
heavy
don't. I don't. I
lifting.
don't consider any decision I make arbitrary.
Yeah,
I weigh everything.
it's
I mean, I've been doing this for
mm,
long enough to where I can kind of do the math in my head and go, yeah, you know what? It makes more sense uh, to do this or that. Absolutely.
but
The
yeah.
big
So
monsters, the bad
conversely, the
monsters,
creatures
the
will get
intelligent.
incensed. Yeah, but you're going to look at the situation and determine that that's what incensed them. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, maybe
And
maybe
and unless the creature is, you know, kind of dim-witted to begin with, they're probably going to, or they're, filled with berserker rage or something like
mm,
that. They're going to go, yeah, I'm going to die if I continue down this path.
yeah.
I think I'm going to run.
I would
Even
determine
ogres and
I
giants
would
might do that.
determine what would incense them before the encounter occurred. I would say, you know what?
Well, I mean, sometimes
If
like if a magic user or a thief or somebody does something completely unexpected, like throw you know the turd flinging or something,
yeah,
does something that's completely unexpected, but like insulting,
right, then you have them. Yeah, you're going to use that, also as again, you're going to use the circumstance. You're going to use that very specific
what's up, upgrade?
circumstance to say, hey, you know what? They're going to be really pissed off at that,
Mm-hmm,
and then instead of them breaking, you have them double down,
mm-hmm,
and yeah, that's perfectly fine. You're not doing a dice roll to do that. You're reading the room, you're reading the situation as the game master and
mm-hmm,
determining that you are adding an immersive element to the action beyond the die rolls or in lieu of die rolls.
mm-hmm.
Anyway, I have about 8 minutes before my first appointment, and as soon as that phone
Good
rings, I
seeing
might
you
have to
again,
jet.
Robert.
So I will. We'll get back to
Thanks
this
for stopping by.
conversation because this is a good conversation, you know. So maybe by
I appreciate
tomorrow
it.
we'll jump in on the same topic again.
Okay,
All right.
I would enjoy that.
Yep.
Have
You
a
all
great
take it.
day.
Have a
I
good
hope you had
one.
a great Father's Day.
Yep. You too.
I'm gonna stick around for a little bit, see
Oh
if
yeah, I'm
anybody else
sure.
wants to
All
pop
right.
in and talk about whatever.
Yep. Take it easy.
Uh, yeah, Sean, I think all DMs are a player unless they're that kind of. Uh, but at the same time, I'm not going to just be, you know, a human die roller. It's my world, and I have some investment there, and I want it to not. I want it to feel a certain way. I don't want it to be like I don't know. You know what I mean? I am. You know, it's my baby to an extent, and I'm not going to just go. Well, the rule says this, so I have to do this. But what if I don't want to? What if there's other things that are going on that again, and I'm not trying to hand the players the game and let them do whatever they want, but at the same time, uh, take care, Shellback. Uh, I kind of want to do what feels best for. Hey, there he is. I knew he was going to come in. Uh,
I should have come in earlier instead of just typing at you, but I think
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah. I
originally
know.
going to
I
pop
didn't
in
know
and
what
say
you were
hi
doing.
and get back to work, but then you started talking D&D, and that's my
Well,
Achilles heel.
I didn't really. I wasn't really only looking at D&D because I play Traveler, I play a bunch of other games, and I still fall back on a D&D, like I said, because it's like this. While White Box was first, I have this theory that the second edition of every game is the best. It's when they've got all the initial kinks out of it and can put their best foot forward
Well, by that logic,
and keep
Holmes
it.
Basic D&D is the best then, because that was technically the first of the revamp.
Is that the box edition?
That was the first of the basics. Yeah, the Holmes Basic from like 76.
Oh, it came out before the Monster Manual.
I think it did. I don't know the exact timeline off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure
Uh,
if nothing else, they were concurrent.
okay.
But I think the Monster Manual was meant to be compatible with that edition as well as the upcoming advance.
Hmm.
But I'm
Yeah,
not
because
not a
it's a weird.
historian on the publications.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of a weird mix.
but the point of what I was trying to say is, so for me, I mean, I used to do it exactly like you guys. It's like I'll just decide, this character's now afraid, and as I got older, the more I let the system do its job. So yeah,
Mhm.
I don't arbitrarily decide if somebody's broken morale. I let the dice decide. They have a morale rating for a reason. There's a reason And every once in a while, you'll get things that make no sense. A character with a 10% morale, his morale holds, and he's scrapping. It's like, that's the situation. So as DM, you justify that. And I found over time that was a far more rewarding way to play, because that takes me, the less arbitrary I have to be, the more the game is interesting, because then I see what happens. I get to be a player and I get to discover things. And the challenge for me now is justifying the things
I'm
that
having a
don't
little
necessarily make sense.
brain fart here. What do you mean by arbitrary?
When you just decide, oh, the monsters do this or the monsters do that, instead of letting a die roll decide where necessary. Like a morale roll is a perfect example. I've decided that they're going to fight to the death, as opposed to, no, the dice said they're incensed, they're fighting to the death, right? The morale system exists for a reason, and there are modifiers.
Well, see,
to
I don't
morale.
think of it as arbitrary. I think of it as me subconsciously or consciously adding a bonus that I feel plus or minus that is maybe not specifically listed in
a
the
bonus
table of
still implies
minuses.
you're going to roll.
Right, but if the minus means that no matter what they roll, I'm going to get this, I'm wasting my time rolling. Or you know what I mean? If you come up
but
and did the
the
math
penalties get
and,
to a
and you
point
get a
where,
minus 12 or something,
But if the
you know, it's
penalties
like
get
there's
to a
no way
point
they're
where the
gonna.
roll is moot, then don't roll.
Right, I think that's what we're
stacking
doing.
enemies. Okay, so let's use Bloodworth's example of the leader falls. You got a group of goblins, their leader falls. I think the death of a leader is a minus 20 modifier to the roll. So now suddenly a goblin's base morale is 30%. Let's say they're outnumbered, 10-1. That reduces it by a factor of, I think, I don't need the chart in front of me, but I think factor of something like 20% per factor of being outnumbered by 3-1. So 10-1 is the three factors of that. So that's another minus 60. So they're already at zero. So yes, then you can say, well, I don't need to roll because the modifier is at zero. But that's not arbitrary. You're still looking at the situation. The situation is telling you what the guide is.
I think what we're doing as GMs who do the thing that I'm proposing, I think we're mentally, instead of pulling out the book and wasting online game time or in person game time by looking up and
that's
doing
a
the
chart
math.
I keep right in front of me on my screen because it happens.
And it might be on my screen. I'd have to look, but and there are times where I think we're just doing we're subconsciously or consciously doing the math to the best of our ability to be quick and go, okay, I don't really think they're going to make their morale check because of the negatives.
The reason,
you know what I mean?
the point of the philosophy, the point of the way I do it is there's a number of side effects that really make a difference in the game. First off, the players know they can trust you. They can trust your judgment. I'm not just saying, well, I'm fed up with your character shadow. I'm going to make sure he dies by having this guy fight to the death. You know that I have come to whatever happens at the table. I've come to that choice fairly, and I'm simply adjudicating what the dice have dictated. Right? I do this for reaction rolls. Like I sometimes have people roll reaction. They're going to the shop to buy something and they're strangers in town. I'll see if the shopkeep likes them. Right. And that could affect the price. Maybe they get the price jacked up. Maybe they get kicked out of the store because the guy's a racist. Who knows? That creates situations that are interesting to me. Without me
real quick for clarification, because I'm trying to follow along. I know you don't play online, correct?
I did, but I use the same rules online.
Okay, but right now, for the most part, you play in person.
Yeah, we play in person.
How long are your sessions?
3.5, 4 hours on average.
Okay, so like kind of like double a typical online session, right there. But when you do play online, it's probably like what two? It's probably less, correct? Less time.
About 3 hours sometimes. Yeah. No, it was definitely less.
Okay, because like
you just
it may seem like a small issue, but I'm finding more and more that online play has to be not just streamlined, but like force fed into the meat grinder on high speed for player satisfaction and return. If they're not, I've seen in the last 5 years, I've seen more players leave games because it wasn't moving along fast enough for them than I've seen stick around.
That's a player issue, not a system issue. Now,
no, it's not. It's neither. It's a
perceived.
It'll
come faster.
No. Even when like I'm on my game and I'm moving things along, people are still like, yeah, this is still too slow for me, because they've been spoiled with video games, with other situations, and the perceived notion that I'm only going to be here for 2 hours. I better go through X number of rooms, X number of monster parties, and walk away with X amount of treasure, so that I feel that my 2 hours spent online was worth it compared to anything else I can do.
Okay,
It's
but
really
what I'm saying is that's a different discussion to what we're having. That is,
no. I'm just trying
how do
to
we how do
I'm
we
trying to figure
present
out how you come to your
online?
uh,
Well,
some of your
I came to
conclusions.
it. Well, I mean, yes, mostly it does well in the live game, but I did use it online. Mind you, my online game was fifth ed, so it was a different process.
Mhm.
But the fact remains, yeah, and this and I want to be clear that I'm speaking to my personal experience and how I got to where I am.
Mhm.
Like I used to do everything. I did the story game railroad DM route when I
Mhm.
was younger. It's
Yeah,
like
we all
I've
did
come up with the novel. I'm putting you through my fucking novel, and that I've been
that.
there, and
And yet
and then
we've never seen any of those novels ever written. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
well, it's funny. I am working on something for my show, which is a short story excerpt of a game, uh,
Mhm.
coming soon. But no, but the point is, I got to a point where because my games were always frustrating. The games and I could never articulate what it was. I could never figure out why. It's like people would quit, people weren't having a good time, the games would fall apart because of that arbitrariness. Like I had a plan. Like if okay there was I remember once I crafted a gibberling encounter. Okay. You know what gibberlings are? You've heard of the monster in
Yeah. Fiend folio.
I love them as a monster. They're great. They're a great pressure enemy because they swarm you in great numbers. And so I had created this scenario, and I literally mapped out this scenario where the players were going to get overwhelmed by gibberlings, and I had literally put the tools in there. And they had a wizard. I gave him a continual light spell on a scroll so they could cast it and scare the gibberlings away because they're afraid of continual light. And I down to the detail, and I was gonna play it so that they were gonna be on the very edge of death, and then the wizard was gonna find that scroll and be able to say, and like it was so fucking boring. It was so fucking stupid. And rather than just okay, well here's the encounter, you guys deal with it how you want. I literally had them a part where I had scripted that an overturned wagon gives them a breather and a shelter, and it was just I won't go into how fucking stupid it was. But as I learned, you let the system do the heavy lifting, and as a player, as a DM at the table, and we say this all the time, the DM is a player too. But what does that mean if the DM is in control of the world? It's like, well, I'm not in control of the world. I have the framework, I have the information, but I'm still adjudicating what the players do within that. And rather than arbitrarily deciding what the monsters want, I mean, there's sometimes you have to. That's the case. But for general encounters and roles where things matter, for morale, for instance, for reaction adjustments, I let the system do its job, and even if the reaction is not what I would expect, or something that's even hard for me to adjudicate, it's like no, but that's the challenge. That is the fun for me because then I also get to see what happens. I get to be a part of this. Okay, well, the players made their choice. Now I've got to figure out how the world reacts to their choice. This die said this guy is hostile towards them. Okay, well, this guy is an important NPC that has the information that's important for them to continue, but he's now hostile, so he's giving them the finger and saying, I don't want to talk to you. That creates the situation that even I have to work through. It's so easy to say, well, I need the story to continue, so the NPC is going to give him the information anyways. No, the dice said he fucking hates the PCs. PCs now have to solve that problem. And that, for me, is fun. That is interesting. The PCs go off script. Like I've got a framework of a module that I'm running. But they decide, no, we're going over here. It has nothing to do with the module. Well, guess what? I have to adapt now. I have to figure out,
Mhm.
how does the world react? What do they do? Often the times if they're going into the wilderness, it doesn't matter. We've got random encounter charts. And suddenly
Mhm.
a random encounter charts, oh, they've encountered a whole group of bandits who've been living off the land because they're outlaws. It's like you can create the situation, and then you as the DM are part of that discovery and part of that creation, and you adapt. And that for me is where the game really started to explode. My mind expanded. It was like, holy shit, I get to be part of the fun even though I'm the DM. And all boils down to just letting the system do its work. Just like, okay, if a morale fails, to such a degree that the goblins throw down their swords and say, no hurt, no hurt, we help, we help. That creates a situation the players get to interact with. Or the goblins are fighting to the death, even at a 5% odds. Well, I guess they're fanatics. Creatures, we've talked about this with other things, like when you've got fanatics and you've got a world where the gods literally exist, there's no denying it. If you are an adherent to a faith, why would you fear death? Because death just takes you to your paradise, right? So that's another reason some creatures might fight to the death, because they're like, so long as I fight bravely and honor my God's tenets, that final blow is going to take you to paradise. It's all good. Exactly. That's a reason somebody might fight to the death.
Which is something I don't think most DMs ever take into account. Real quick, I want to get this because I want to take Off-Grid's comment. If you want speedy systems, some rulings, and plenty of player agency, it's BX, the fastest system I know of. Okay, right off the bat, it's the last sentence, the fastest system you know of. If I were to right now try to learn BX, and be able to separate its core tenets and rules, etc., from anything else, and just focus on that, it would be the slowest game I ever ran until I had run it for I don't know, years to a decade.
Well, but that's true of any
because
system.
exactly,
there's always a learning curve where
dude,
you're going slow.
I can't do that.
But
I'm not gonna be able to run
again,
any.
I 100% I agree. I'd go BX or OSE. I'd go BX because it lends itself to fast online play.
It's what you know. It's like they say, right?
Because I know it. And of all the systems I know, that's the one I would run online for that exact reason. But I know it, right? And I could theoretically run AD&D online, but I wouldn't do it without a VTT that could match AD&D's needs. Like I tried running during the pandemic. I ran my AD&D campaign online for a bit, and and the maps is the scale for AD&D. You've got the 3-foot squares, so you need a 3x3 foot area to cover a 10-foot area, or 3x3 square area to cover 10 feet. And I was using Roll20. Roll20 doesn't have the processing power for the big maps that you need in order to cover that scale. I think Foundry might, and I'd look into Foundry to run AD&D.
I honestly don't. I don't envision myself ever using a VTT ever. I don't have the time to dedicate to learning that kind of thing.
But I wouldn't run an online D&D, whether it be BX, AD&D, or even
I've been running it
without the VTT, because it's so tied into the grid and the scale and all that. Like the system is baked into it.
I managed to make it work. I'm thinking of actually running starting a new, like a first level AD&D game, a little bit down the road with new players and maybe some old players,
right.
But it wouldn't be a VTT.
The way I play D&D, I love the minis. I wouldn't want to play AD&D or D&D.
I'm right there with you, but it's just not within my wheelhouse.
Albert Rodeo, at the time that I tried it, it was too slow. Again, it couldn't handle the maps. Big maps really drove down to crawl. Now, I understand they upgraded it, so I haven't looked into it since they upgraded, so I don't know how fast
it's so weird, because like I played D&D and all the role-playing games I did for the first more than 20 years without ever using a board, a map, or anything. It was all, head,
to the mind. Yeah. As a kid,
and we never ever, went, man, I really wish we had a map. There might have been a few occasions where I would draw something quick. It's like, this is what it looks like. Here's where you are. But for the most part, we did Theater of the Mind for decades and never knew there was another way. I mean, we knew there was minis.
I wish I could go back and play those games I did as a kid, knowing what I know now and how to use the minis and all that. I would never go back without minis. Now, there are other games that I would 100% be fine playing Theater of the Mind with. Like if I were to ever run Call of Cthulhu, it's like, yeah.
I was thinking, I knew you were going to say that. It's like, you don't need paper for that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's off the top of my head.
You're all going to die anyways. What do you care?
Or something I mentioned earlier. I tried Vaesen once and kind of liked it, so it's like or Vice, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but things like that, yeah, I wouldn't even Palladium. The more I thought about it, like I played a lot of Palladium as a kid.
Same here.
But I think that's one that you could easily run Theater of the Mind. the system is almost designed around foregoing the use of minis, whereas D&D evolved from the wargaming, so the minis are kind of intimately tied to it.
Um, I don't know that I agree with that. Even though I played Palladium many years, more than 10, with no minis, combat now in Palladium to me just seems like a fucking nightmare.
Well, like I
Dodging and
said,
all that other shit, parry, block, roll with the punch, all that shit. It's like I don't want to keep track of all this shit. What initiative segment are we on? Ah, son of a bitch. You know, all that auto block and all, especially the martial arts, all those special little things, just slow it down so much for me. It's like I don't want to spend 2 hours in one combat because you could do all the cool shit. It's like a flip a coin, we're done. You won. Let's go.
but the point is, you can do it
You know what I
theory of
mean?
mind, even if it is tedious, more so than D&D.
Well,
And I never played Palladium with miniatures. I mean, I stopped playing Palladium in the early '90s. We had a Rifts campaign that went really well. We saw it to completion, and that was when I retired from Palladium. But anyway, so yeah, to the point of the reason I came in, like, in terms of it's a philosophy of play, and I get where Bloodworth is coming from. So you arbitrarily decide, but to me that really diminishes, because you just open yourself up to a whole new style of play that just expands the game, the fun of the game, the satisfaction of the game. When you as a DM can sit back and let the system do most of the heavy lifting, you just have to adjudicate the why of the role. The roles tell you this is what the situation is. You as the DM get the fun of creatively adjudicating the why. And for me, that, I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to teach that style of play other than to share my experience with it. But it completely changed the way the game worked for me. And by applying it, like I said, I've got long-term campaigns that people are 100% invested in, because they
okay.
know that their choices in the game matter because I give them agency. They know that I'm simply a
I
referee.
don't know that the other way doesn't do that unless the GM is trying to push them in a certain direction, which, to be fair, in some situations, it's like
Does
if the
happen.
player if the players say they're going to the freaking dungeon, and then I write the dungeon, and then they decide next game session, oh, we changed our mind, we're going to do this other thing.
That's
I'm
on
going to
them.
be like,
That's their right. It's like, and you've made the dungeon, but it's still there. The dungeon's still there.
yeah, but I'm human, and I'm petty, and I'm going to fucking throw shit at them, the likes they've never seen before,
Seems pretty
because it's like, what
arbitrary
the
to me,
fuck?
Shadow. that's an
No,
arbitrary
it's not
decision.
arbitrary. It's downright malicious, because we had an agreement, and you all broke the agreement without like telling me like 4 or 5 days ago, so I could stop working on the thing that will never see the light of day.
Oh,
Um,
that's me. I don't care. I'll write up the dungeon in
my
anticipation of
time is very
there,
valuable, very
but
valuable.
it'll get used. I mean, even if it doesn't get used right then and there, it'll get used. I've done this.
Yeah,
Like, I
I've
prep a lot
literally
of
seen
modules. I've had players
5 level
tell me they're
dungeons
100% going to do
never see
something,
the light of
and then
day.
they don't do it. And I've done all this prep, and it's like, well, I've still done the prep, and if they go back, I'm still ready for it. If they don't, but the point is, I want them to feel and know that their choices are in their hands, and I have no vested interest in the outcome of their choices. I am just there to
Oh yeah,
facilitate.
yeah. I can totally uh, say that is the case with me. I just, if I have an agreement with the party, they're going to do the thing next week, or even in the future, and I start working on it, then that's the agreement. We've between us men, we've made an agreement that you're going to do the thing, so I cannot waste my valuable time, because like I was telling freaking George Dave, I don't even get out of bed for less than $100. Okay, every day. Okay, you're wasting my fucking time. If you're going to pull that kind of crap, and I could be doing a lot of other things than drawing up a fucking dungeon that's never going to get used.
Sorry, off grid tells me my mic is low. I'm going to try to. I thought I
You
had it
sound
set.
fine. It,
Sound fine.
maybe I'm just loud. I'm full of piss and vinegar. It's Monday. Um,
Yeah,
I hope
I've got.
everybody had a good Father's Day. If I haven't said it to you guys out there, Bubba, I will see you tonight, right? Before you bounce, make sure, yes or no. Um, I'm going to be in his game. Quantum Orc, Quantum Dungeon, Potato, Patata. Um, no, if we agreed last week that the next time we meet we're doing the thing, then we're doing the thing. Or,
I'll never make such agreements because life happens. Life is weird.
well,
Uh, Information
perfect,
changes people's
perfect example.
minds.
uh, last my last game session, not last night, but the last game session, the players said we want to go to the thing, and I go, okay, it's a good stopping point. Next week we'll pick up at the front door of this dungeon, let's say, kind of, but not exactly. And so I'll spend the next week, you know, drawing it out and doing the thing, filling up the area with whatever might be in the area, so that when we pick up, we can go right into it. Hey, what's up, nerds? Long time no see. Um, that's what they wanted to do. And instead of me just, you know, like creating a mega dungeon on, you know, completely random as we're playing, if I know it, I can start thinking about, you know, how things work inside it, its ecology, etc. Instead of just like, you know, and then you know, I don't want to do that. I want to know what I'm doing.
Well, if they're already at a dungeon, I'm going to make sure to have it ready. I'm not creating a dungeon on the fly. But
I
yeah,
do that all the time, though. There are times where, you
if you
know,
have to, sure. There's a random dungeon generator. I've never had to, but I would if it became necessary. It's like, all right, that's an extreme situation, but
mhm.
I think it boils down to
Believe it or
I don't
not,
take the players' choices personally. I just want to facilitate their adventure and adjudicate what they do. And if they say, "Hey, we're going to this dungeon on this map next time," and then they get together at the table and like, "I don't think we can survive that dungeon. Let's not go there." It's like, all right, well, or what are you doing then? The dungeon is there. The dungeon stays there on the map. It's not going to be moved.
right. I tend to like, just like last session. It's like they're at the front door. Okay, they've already made it there, and then I'll go. Okay, we'll stop here, and then next week we'll pick up, and you're
And
still
then
at the front
next
door.
session they say, you know what, this is dangerous. Let's go back. I've actually had that exact situation happening.
They wouldn't make it back to town.
Yeah, I don't care. The dice will decide. Like I do random encounters, but I
No,
wouldn't put
no. See,
specific
because
encounters.
I'm not. My time is also not going to be dictated by such randomness. Um,
I again,
I,
I take joy in seeing what happens. So
I do
if
too.
something
I do too.
unexpected happens, then great.
Cal and Off Grid, and Omen, and a guy you don't know named Armstrong, pull some random crazy shit in my current game. I never know what's going to happen, you know, in like a combat or an encounter or what have you. I mean, I do know that they're going to go into the thing, into the place, but I don't know what they're going to do. You know, when they get there, how they're going to act. It's, you know, it's on them. But you know, if between us men we make an agreement, uh, you know, the very least they can do is, you know, tell me midweek, like, hey, you know, we've been talking and we decided, or maybe one player will be like, yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. Well, I'll say, well, then go talk to the other players, and if you decide you want to do something differently, you know, let me know. Um,
Yeah,
because you know,
that's fair.
if I spend, you know,
I just
6 8 hours drawing up a map and filling it with monsters and all kinds of cool shit, that's 8 hours I'm not getting back, and there's a good chance that they might never go in that thing, in which case I've made it for nothing. um that's why I don't do as much work as I used to. I was working on a game world, and I did like some of the best work I've done in years on it, and it fell apart. And I'm never going to run that game again. I'm never going to run people through that area again. And all that time was completely wasted, except for what I learned. And what I learned is that these days online game players are insanely fickle and undependable.
well, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
I never make a deal. I never I don't make it I don't make it a thing about a deal. Like if the players want to go somewhere, they go somewhere. If they don't, they don't. You know, and if I end up making a dungeon that gets unused, well, it just goes into a folder. It'll get used eventually. I'm
Right,
not
but I mean,
concerned that it
at
got
some
used right away.
right, right. It's just it
I know what you're saying. I know I've been there. I just, I just let it go because the experience that I want from the game isn't predicated on me getting what I want in
it's not
terms
about
of.
getting what I want. It's about doing what we said we're going to do and not wasting my time. I like I said, my time is very
And
valuable.
yeah, I'm just saying it's a different perspective. Whereas, if everybody's having fun at the table, regardless of what happens, then no
That
time's
is
needed.
always the case. As a matter of fact, 3 out of 4 players, knowing that we weren't going to have a game last night, and James L joined us, we just went into Discord and just hung out and shot the shit for 3-4 hours just because we couldn't game, but we enjoy each other's company. And mind you, these are all people who've never met in person, and we've developed a friendship over the years, and we can do that, and that's why it I ask for these things because it's like, hey, I want to not suddenly have my opinion of you trashed because you flaked, uh, in such a way as to waste my time. That kind of thing is
Yeah,
it's hard to it's hard
I'm
to
not happy when players regularly, like my AD&D group is very consistent. The one
mm,
guy who is most likely to back out has health issues, so and
mm,
he will let us know as soon as possible. If
mhm.
it's usually a day or two. Like some days on the Friday he'll message, listen, I'm just not up for it. I can't travel, and that's fine.
And we are all getting older. I think
Yep.
the youngest guy I play with is like 40-ish, and even
Right.
he,
Well,
you
this
know,
guy in question is in his late 60s, so yeah.
right.
All
And
of my most of
once
my
you get
players are
past
retirees. Yeah,
to
half the
like the
group
big
is.
50, all bets are off, right? You know what I mean? I have one dear friend who hasn't been able to come back to the game because of a medical issue, and it's been the better part of 2 years. And every week he's like, I wish I could get back in the game. I wish I could get back in the game, but I can't. Because it's not just the health issue, but it's now having to work a second job to pay for the initial
Pay for the
hospital.
health issue. Yeah, yeah.
It's like fuck, you know. But he, still enjoying what he's doing. And actually, like they say, if God closes the door, he opens a window. And now, because of the second job, he gets to do one of the things he's wanted to do all his life. And he's played hundreds of games. He's played a game with me. He can say and mark that off his bucket list. And now he's doing something that's a little bit higher on the bucket list.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of jealous. Just saying, because it's a fun job. It sounds like it doesn't even sound like a job. It's like so basically a little piece of heaven has entered your life, and then it's helping you pay the bills. You lucky bastard.
Yep.
Uh,
Dare to dream, huh?
oh
I
yeah.
spent 2 decades pursuing a career that went nowhere, and
Um. Yeah. Yeah. I know the feeling. I really can't say that I did quite that, but I did leave a job that I wish I could go back to. But there's no way, you know.
right.
Now that I'm a dad and other things, it's not happening. Just no way. Many times my body is wrecked from chores on the property, and I have to play on painkillers from my bed. Uh, I'm not sure what TOTM allows the freedom to do that over Discord on my phone.
Tale of the Manicore.
Okay, wow. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, I don't know.
You just won $50,000 in imaginary
Well,
money.
I don't know if I'm
How you
right.
just,
You'll have to confirm it, but I thought.
I couldn't even make up something that would match that that
Well,
quickly.
Tale of the
Nicely
Manicore
done.
is another. He's a podcast. He's a friend of mine. He lives in Toronto. He actually joins in my games every once in a while.
Okay.
But he does a solo. His podcast is he recounts his solo game, tells his story. But Theater of the Mind. Okay.
Theater of the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I still wouldn't have got that one either, Uh,
I was thinking he was playing talking about a specific game he was in. Yeah, Theater Mind in general. Yeah, 100%.
I would love to be able to do what like people like Bruce do and play like long ass games with minis and you know a mix of people in my house and online and have the cameras down on the minis and all that cool shit. But all the time and effort that it would take and set up, it's just it's not going to happen. I've got a mother-in-law who has no understanding of boundaries and don't touch shit that's not yours. You know, and invariably things would get broken and messed up, and someone would come in with freaking a spray bottle and erase what's on the dry erase board just because it's messy. You know, shit like that. It's just I'm not even joking.
No, I
Um, I,
believe it.
I find silverware in the garden all the damn time because she'll just go grab a spoon, you know, to do some sort of gardening. I'm like, you know, we got shovels, right? You know, the shovels are right over there.
Oh, the
You
spoon is
know,
fine.
we've lost steak knives, you know, and I know they're in the backyard somewhere. Like, we've got
Yeah.
clippers, we've got saws, we've got all that shit in the place, but because it's closer, she'll just go into the kitchen and grab a steak knife and start cutting something and then leave the steak knife there, only for it to someday probably get run over by a lawnmower.
Well, you'll find it. It'll be mangled, but you'll
Yeah,
find it.
hopefully we'll find it like right here area, you know. Uh, okay, great guest. He listens to that podcast as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
I, I
I
I've
don't
been I've been a
really.
bad friend. I haven't listened to it yet. I meant to binge his stuff, but I just it's like one of those things. It's like I got to sit down and do it. Um, but I gave him a voice for one of his stingers, and he's guested in my couple of my OSE games. Most recent one, which I gotta get to writing at some point. My 50th session is coming up.
Ooh,
50th session
milestone.
of the Old School Essentials campaign, which was started specifically for my channel. Like my AD&D campaign has been going on for now 13, 14 years, and I just happened to
Nice.
start doing it. But my OSE campaign I actually started for the channel, so it's all right from the beginning. It was fresh, and so that's been 50. Now we only had 6 games last year because once I moved to sort of farther out, which means it's a pain in the ass for people to get to unless they're driving. So it really, whereas my old place before I sold, I was right on a major bus route and by a train station. So getting to my place was super easy, so I could have regular games. But we're at 50, and I'm going to do a special solo adventure with Onion Bun's Bumble Stump.
Nice,
He's a
bad
fan.
news. You're gonna blow my cover. Um, Father Aaron even voices a character in the second season of
Oh, nice.
Father Aaron also did some voice work on Jackie's um, video series he's making, along with Bear the Gen X GM, James L.
Mhm.
Who else was on there? Bo from Bo Paints Minis. A few other folks have done voice work. I actually, Jackie killed me on camera with an actual pool of stage blood and everything. It was quite interesting and fun. We only had one take to get it right, and we managed. Check this out. If you haven't seen it, I'm reading. I'm sitting in a book reading Chalt One. You know, as this character because we needed a book, and I'm like, I'm using Chalt. I took off the cover so you can see it just says Chalt on it. You know, I'm
Mhm.
reading it, and some stuff happens, and then when he kills me, we cut and go to a scene where I'm laying down, and you can see the blood pooling out of my body. Off camera, I've got a squeegee, and there's a pile of blood, and I'm moving the blood, you know, very ever so carefully so that it's not in the camera angle, so that the blood just like pools out onto the floor. And we had to
Yep.
do all this in one take, uh, without Mom seeing what was going on in on the garage floor. And it turned out not bad, you know.
Did you ever see the movie Sanjuro?
No, no.
The Kurosawa film. It's the sequel to Yojimbo.
Oh, okay.
Yojimbo, which was of course the original Fistful of Dollars. Fistful of Dollars was remade from Yojimbo. Anyway, in Senjuro, there's a duel at the end between the two samurai, between the two Ronin, the samurai and the mercenary. And so the idea was that the main character, Sanjuro, would slice the mercenary. They had their duel, just one slice, boom, and then they had the blood pump, so because he'd get slashed and the blood would just sort of pool into his gi and he'd fall down, right? But the technical guys, now Kurosawa was a known perfectionist, so the technical guys put the pressure on too much. So when Sanjuro slashed, it created this spray, this comedically, right? And it was like so ridiculous. But the actors, they didn't react. They did no thing. The guy took the hit and then he fell down. But the spray was so huge. It's like we're talking Kill Bill, in Kill Bill, and the spray was a geyser. But apparently Kurosawa loved it so much he kept it. So it was a one-take wonder, even though it was a mistake. He wanted the more realistic seep of blood as the wound opened. But anyway, so I don't know. Your story just reminded me of that. I figured I'd throw a film factoid out.
Nice. There's the boy as we speak. Yeah, Off Grid is inviting you to his little compound in the woods if you want to play an in-person game. I wish I could. I wish I could just go hang out there. It is such a beautiful place he's built up there with his family.
Where is he? The Shield. Was he in Canada, in Northern Ontario? There.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a Canuck. Go Canada.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I've met more and hang out now with more Canadians in the last couple of years than my whole life combined. I think I've only met prior to you guys 2 Canadians. Well, and one wasn't technically Canadian. Her father was Canadian, so they make her half Canadian. I don't know how that works.
Well, it depends on whether or not she gets her citizenship.
No,
because of her father's status, she would, whoever it is, would be able to just apply. But if she hasn't,
no, I think she actually went with her mother's country of origin, which was Thailand.
Right.
That was a funny story. She went to visit
it
Thailand.
Doesn't change her eligibility. If her father was Canadian, then
she came back from Thailand from being there for like a month and couldn't speak English anymore. Yeah, I like some dumb. Apparently. Definitely watch Kurosawa. I'm certain I spelled it wrong. Films, great stuff. I actually have several of them. I've seen uh, Ran, or is it Run? I've seen
Ran.
Ran. And I hated it. Thanks, Omen. I'll never forgive you for that. Yojimbo, did he do Seven Samurai?
Yep, that was his.
That one I enjoyed. I want to get Jackie to watch that one.
Top 10 films of all time. So good. Rashomon is a great one. I didn't love Throne of Blood. I figured I would because I love Macbeth, and it's basically Macbeth in feudal Japan, but I just hated it. It bored me to tears. But Yojimbo and Sanjuro I love. Rashomon is great. Seven Samurai. Hidden Fortress. I've saved that on my
I think
watch.
Hidden Fortress is on my list, but that's about it.
I'm not a Kurosawa buff. I haven't watched his entire catalog, but aside from Throne of Blood, everyone I've seen is like, yeah, I should watch more.
What's up, Mini Warmite? Hello, old farts. Hey, are you doing the ray gun challenge, Mini Warmite? I think tomorrow's video is going to be on that, so stay tuned. We're all taking squirt guns and doing them up, trying to make them look like they would be an adequate prop for a movie. Just something to do to test our painting and gluing skills. Just to do something silly and fun. We found a couple of really nice squirt guns that once done up will look, they're not going to look like real guns because they're space guns, but they wouldn't look, super cheesy. I'm hoping we'll see. I think mine's actually going to look the cheesier of the two because I'm going out of my way to get that sort of 1970s retro look, with what I chose. that's going to be fun. I'm setting up the final scene of my Demon Slayer solo RPG miniatures. Is that the hobby product game, or is that Demon World I'm thinking of? Okay, take care, Off Grid. I'm gonna take my leave in just a few minutes as well. You have a great day, Off Grid, and maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Because unless you're in Bubba's game, uh, the rest of my day is kind of booked. You know, uh, I started solo role playing with Shadows of Brimstone, even though it's more of a board game kind of thing. It was a lot of fun, and it got Jackie into the hobby, and we had so much fun. And I've got another Kickstarter on the way ish, which reminds me I got to take care of another Kickstarter. They said, "Hey, we want more money," and I'm like, "Here, take my money," because I'm an idiot. Um, but I haven't been able to get back into the idea of solo role playing. Um, I would love to hear what it is about that's got people all into it. It just to me, it's like, yeah, I think I'd rather just like play a video game. You know anything about that, Sean?
Sorry, I was just responding to a message. What was the question?
Solo role playing games. Yeah or nay?
I like to use the solo generator once in a while. I'll build up a team, and usually I'll do it to construct a dungeon or something like that. I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, there's in absence of a proper game, it scratches an itch.
Okay.
Um,
I
the random junk dungeon generator in the first ed DMG is great. Osric's is pretty good
oh
too.
oh yeah.
Yeah, you can like just lay out a big battle mat and all right, roll. Oh, this corridor is 60 feet. All right, I'll draw 60 feet. Here's my little minis, and yeah, it can be fun.
Video games make your brain mush. I could see how technologically they could, but if the game is challenging, I would disagree on that because it's there. I have two video games that are strategy games. They're really short, but right before like a game session or other things, I will play them like a 5 minute game to get my brain like working on that level. You know what I mean? To start.
That's not necessarily the game itself; it's how you play it. Like I've
Mhm.
been there where I got into Skyrim and I'd play for 12 hours. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Okay, I'll
Yeah,
play
yeah.
only one more hour.
Yeah, I played that. I love that game, but when they and I started paying the monthly thing, and I found out that when I missed the payment, I couldn't play in any of the worlds and things that I'd opened up, magic items and all this crap was no longer available to me until I paid them back the money for the next month. I'm like,
Yeah, fuck that
guess what?
noise.
Yep, you just lost me. I will never play
Lost,
again.
yeah, no, absolutely. I
That's
downloaded
literally
Cosmic
extortion,
Invasion.
and I'm not playing that.
Sometimes I just want to shut down my brain. Like I've got had a day, and I just want to kill stuff. I just want to take out the controller.
Might
But
I recommend one of the greatest games for that, which was State of Emergency on the original Xbox? All you
no,
do is just kill mindless clones. It's a Rockstar game. It's one of Rockstar's first games, and it's literally you've got like 4 or 6 locations. One of them's a mall, which is my favorite. You're inside a mall, and there's a whole bunch of these clones. They all look. I think they either look alike or they look like civilians. And you've got a machete or a machine gun or a Vulcan rotary cannon or whatever you can find, and you just kill everything. And it's just the most gratuitous, mindless killing game of all time, and it's freaking.
there there are plenty of those. Like I said, I've been playing Cosmic Invasion, which is fun. It's Marvel superheroes. They just downloaded. They offered a download pack where you could download Cyclops and Thing.
Mhm.
Cyclops is so broken. He's fun. I just go and annihilate everything with him. Yeah, and then it's like there's no challenge. I just play.
Mhm.
But most of my time has been spent with editing, and I've been rethinking. Of course, I'm doing the. I don't know if you've seen my latest 2 videos, the deep dive into AD&D
Mhm.
combat, where I'm breaking it down.
Mhm.
And so I've always had to think about how do I present it and redo the math, and So that's been eating up my time lately. So those are video.
Mini Warmut says there's math in tabletop role playing games. Ha! Yes, there is. And I don't, like other than the odd game of solitaire and the other game I was talking about, I just don't have time for video games. I've spent an inordinate amount of time in my life over the past almost 60 years playing video games, and to be honest, I haven't seen a good one come along that really, grabbed me in the way that the ones that hold in the highest esteem do. And until I see something that really, and even
So much
then,
out there now. There's just so many. It's like you don't even have time to sample a couple, let alone play and dive into them.
even like some of the ones that, like Red Dead Redemption, I think it is. I really want to play that game, but I really also can't justify any time of the day or night sitting in my chair for more than a 2 hour period, not
Right.
being productive or sleeping.
Well, that's a game that's going to eat up a lot of hours of your time because it's very immersive. But
It looks
yeah,
fun. It looks fun as hell.
it
I
does.
remember a friend of ours had a grandpa who passed away. But the grandfather, whenever the boy would go play the game, he would just sit and watch it because to him it was like watching a western
Yeah.
unfold, and he loved it. He fucking loved it. He never would pick up the controller, but he just sit down and watch cowboy, shooting other cowboys. Sign me up. Like I'm surprised he didn't have a beer and a freaking cigar sitting back watching it. Except for I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let him smoke in the house.
Damn boy, play. Go get that man. Go get that wench. Go get it and shoot out.
I'm telling you, right? It looks like a lot of fun, um, but I just don't have that kind of time to just sit and waste. Not really waste, but just while away my time. I do a lot of other things that you know I don't usually talk about. But you know, it's weird too because I've been retired for you know 30 years ish, 25. Let's say 25 years, and I still haven't been able to do a bunch of the things I said I was going to do when I retired. I literally have a stack of video games that's like 3 feet tall with accompanying strategy guides like Hitman 1, 2, 3, 4. What was that other one? What's the car game where you shoot you kill people and beat up prostitutes?
Oh,
What the hell is it?
yeah, Grand Theft Auto.
Thank you. I've got. I even had it on the Game Boy, which was like the first one. But I had or I still have like three of those and some other great games with like big, thick ass strategy guides. I haven't touched one of them. I got them all like more than 15 years ago, and I know exactly where they are in the garage, just sitting there, getting dusty. Probably never probably touch them. I checked my hours in Steam and deleted my account. Yeah, James, I can only imagine. When I get to the pearly gates, St. Peter's going to go. Do you know that you spent X number of hours? I'm like, okay. I guess I'll
And
turn
now that
around.
I'm here, I'm going to spend X number more because I've got eternity.
All right, no, I'm pretty sure there's going to be funner things to do. If that's the case, I'll be dead before I can retire. Don't look at it that way. Look at it as the goal to find a way to retire faster. When you start putting an effort into what it takes to retire as opposed to what it takes to pay the bills, your brain works on another level, and you start thinking of new ways to make money so that you can put that money away so that you can retire.
That you
One of these
beeping.
days, I will do a financial advice channel or show, but not yet. I'm keeping all my secrets. Um,
Start a
it,
YouTube channel. That's
yeah,
my
and
retirement plan.
gets
Start a
and then
YouTube
gets
channel.
sued. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it gets.
I've been unemployed for many years, and the only reason I can exist is because I had to sell my place, but I made a massive profit because the real estate market in Toronto is huge. But you know,
Uh,
unless I'm still bleeding my account, so unless I can either find work, but I'm older now. I'm in my mid-50s, so it's like there's only so much I can do. I'm also physically out of shape, but no, I gotta turn around my
Amazing
income.
how quick that happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like Just a couple years ago, I was riding my bike every day, and then freaking COVID happened, and I couldn't ride my bike every day because people would be like freaking yelling at me and
I was
shit.
actually opposite. I was more active during COVID because I would go out for walks. I had a stationary bike. I'd put in 45 minutes on that every day. So I was actually okay during COVID. It was after I
Mini
moved and
warm up, that would be
shed half
Traveler
my.
or Villains and Vigilantes. I can use Traveler and Villains and Vigilantes second edition to run literally any game, and I actually believe that with the one book from V&V second edition, 47 pages, I don't need anything else. I can throw that little thin little book in my bug out bag, which I did a video on. If I ever have to bug out, my V&V book is going in there with a 20-sided dice. That's all I need, and some paper. I need to actually remember to put paper in there, and I can literally run any game from caveman to freaking supremely high sci-fi stellar adventure with that game, um, with like no difficulty whatsoever. I know there's Mythic. Uh, you mean to run any game? I've never read Mythic or what have you. Setting up a con here in East Tennessee, but not looking at that as a revenue stream. Doing it because I love the hobby. Same here. When I run my con in Texas, I expect to run it at a loss, and that's just the way it is. You met Jeff T in North Texas. I would pick up V&V 2E. Uh, it's worth it. When you read it, you'll get it. Um, the idea of running a con isn't to for me to make money or even to play games. It would be all about meeting all the people that I
The
talk
only
to.
the only way to make money is if it's massive, and then by then it's a business there. It's not a con that you're doing for fun. I know Dungeon Minister's growing, but I mean Claricon's only going to get so big.
Right,
Um,
right.
but
Uh,
he's had to
it,
rent out the town hall to accommodate extra tables, but I doubt it'll go bigger than that.
uh, yeah, you can. You literally make up the monsters from scratch. Uh, you have to learn how to make up monsters, animals, creatures, whether it be V&V or Traveler, from scratch, or use previously published material. But I find it's more fun to do the work and create the things so that you have a little more intimate knowledge of how it would work and what it can do, and things like that. Yeah, I'm very leery of turning any aspect of this hobby into a money making venture. I've watched two people I know and like and appreciate very much, absolutely uh, go headlong into the idea of I have to make money at this, only to uh, not understand that once you do that, you just kind of kill what you love. You know what I mean?
It's a definite risk. I mean, I'm obviously I'm trying to grow the channel to be so it's sustainable, but I'm still doing aspects that I love. I mean, the idea of doing this clickbait negative bullshit content.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
I like with this morning's video. Just it's kind of the way I saw it. It's not trying to aggravate people or anything. But I was just like all right, let's play with it. Let's see.
right.
Uh,
Well, I mean, there are things to do for sure to trigger the algorithm, but I don't want to go full Dungeons and Discourse where it's all just hate bait, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I never do that. I never
Even the
support people
conversation we
out
had
or anything
earlier,
like that. Um,
conversation we had earlier when I came on, we were talking about being an arbitrary DM and stuff like that. It's like I'm not hating on how other people play. I'm just saying, okay, this I want to present. This is my experience. This is how I play, and what has done for me. And let you decide, right? But people got to play the game they want to play.
yeah.
But I'm not going to come on and say, "Oh, D&D is dead. You got to do this." It's like, fuck off.
No, 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 no. It'll never. It will. I mean, maybe someday, but I can see it, still played, in people's attics and burned out basements and things like that. Somewhere, in the dystopian future, there will be people trying to play role playing games with melted dice and bits of glass for miniatures and things like that. But I won't be here for that. But yeah, it really saddens me to watch people trying to squeeze dimes and pennies and nickels out of the hobby. You've got to start with a lot of money to make it work and make money. If you want to make money, you've got to, like to say, you want to make a small fortune in role playing games. Start with a large fortune.
Yeah, we have the same saying about theater. Doing theater. How do you make $1 million in theater? You start out a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I'm obviously making the videos I want to make, but I'm also experimenting. It's like I do want to trigger the algorithm. I do want to, I've got a nice loyal small base. I've got a bunch of members and stuff like that. But it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
I watched some large streamers, some religiously and regularly, and others, when I can. And there's just no sense of a real community or I mean, you can type whatever you want, but the chat's going by so fast that whoever's running the channel, they don't notice you, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
unless you super chat, you're just another name in a crowd. And
I've only ever given one super chat, and that was to a charity stream where the money was going to something specific.
I yeah, I'm not doing that. I work too hard to get my money just to shell out money, even though at some point we'll get monetized and all that crap. I'm not going to do what everybody else does.
But at the same time, I mean, like I appreciate, like I've had people super chat me or buy memberships. I appreciate that. That's great. I want to do more for members only, as I just so swamped as it is. So like right now I'm at the baseline where I give advanced access. My videos, like I've got a couple of videos up now that are members only for a few days and then they go public. I've got a few members only exclusive videos, but I'm not at the point where I can make a dungeon every month and say, here's a free dungeon to my members. I'm like, oh my God, that would be so
And I
much.
can't even imagine who would want that. No offense, but it's like, most of the things I see people, shilling or trying to sell with their Patreons or stuff like that. It's like, you know, YouTube's free, and I could be entertained for free all day long, and not cost anything but time. Why am I giving you a dime? What's in it for
Well,
me?
I mean,
That I can't
in the
get
case
elsewhere for free.
in the case of my memberships, like I keep the money low. It's like a $2 Canadian, and it's like you're tipping me. It's like, and the people who subscribe to me or who buy a membership are like they appreciate what I do. And it's like, here, thank you. Just keep doing what you do, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm up at the $50 a month range, and it's like, oh, yeah, it buys groceries. It's not, it's not
That's
totally bad.
literally like out here. That's literally two hamburgers and two fries,
Yeah,
and maybe
goes
a
fast.
drink.
But every once in a while, that $100 that YouTube drops in my account is like, it can make the difference. Um, but considering I'm doing something I would do for free anyway, because I do enjoy it. The recreation, the
Right,
experiment,
right.
making the money on it is a nice bonus.
Yeah. Oh, well,
But
I would look at it more like this. It's like this. Mini Warmite. Okay, say you make $40 a month. That's almost 500 a year.
Mhm.
And if you put it into a separate like account or whatever, or you keep track and go, okay, well, this 480 that I made in 2026, I can now use for X. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I can say that X paid for that. Um, in the old days, folks lived and died by pennies, and saving them and putting them away and things like that allowed them to do amazing things over the course of a year, not over the course of a pay period or a month or what have you. You've got to think completely different with your expenditures. If you knew, like if the average person knew how much they spent on like Starbucks, let's say, at the end of the year, if they got
It
that
adds
bill,
up.
they'd be like, I'm never doing it again.
When I lived with my ex, we were right around the corner from a burger joint that we loved and we ate there regularly, and I saved the receipts. And at the end of the year, I was going through all these stack of receipts, and we realized we'd spent like $5,000 there over a year. We're like, holy fuck!
Mhm. Mhm.
How many groceries does that buy? It's like, wow.
Yeah, literally. My grocery bill for the four of us is 250 to 300 every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But going to a fast food restaurant for the four of us for four burgers, four fries at the cheapest place is $50.
Yeah, yeah. It
So
adds up.
compared to the 250, that's 1/5 of a 2 weekly budget on one meal.
That's why it's got to
That
be a
fif-
treat. It can't be a regular thing. It's like, yeah, we're going. Oh, I went out to earlier this year. I took my ex and I. We just went out for dinner. She works at a place called Morton's of Chicago. I don't know if you're familiar with the franchise, but it's big. It's like in Toronto, the Mortons of Chicago is right downtown in Yorkdale, which is where all the celebrities go. Like we literally ran into Tom Selleck there once, right? Not this time,
Nice.
but and she works there. She's a waitress there, so she's like totally dead to the celebrities because she just doesn't even think about it. But the point is, it's expensive. It's expensive as fuck. And
Mhm.
so I was treating her, and now she gets an employee discount, and it was like $250 for two steak dinners, even with her employee discount. And it was like, and it was 30% off. I was looking at this, going, "Wow, this is a reason I don't eat here regularly." Even like it was like double, a regular steakhouse like the Keg, or I guess I don't know if you have the
Mhm.
Keg down there, but something like Ponderosa. Does Ponderosa still exist down there?
Maybe not in Cal. No, I mean, you understand. I live in a really small town that has almost nothing but chain restaurants. Burger King, McDonald's, things like that. The one place that has we have a mall, and almost everything there is shut down since COVID, not coming back. Almost everything. We have a little restaurant that keeps changing names and hands every 6 months because it can't stay open. The $20 minimum wage for fast food employees has driven up the price of a burger, fries, and a drink to about 17 to 20 bucks,
Right.
and it's intentionally uh, ruining the economy out here. Uh, we have gas right now down the street, $7 a gallon.
Yeah, okay. It's
I mean, maybe it's more where you live. I don't know.
I was just
Uh,
trying to do the conversion because we do ours in liters. So it's $1.60 a liter, so it's roughly 4 liters to a gallon. So yeah, that's about par. That's about the same.
okay.
So yeah, so $1.60, 3.20, so 6.40. So that would work out to about 6.40 a gallon.
Yeah, it's when elsewhere in the state it's under half that.
Hmm. Well, you're on the
So,
boonies. That you're far. You're
well, I'm in California,
yeah.
which
How
makes
far?
it.
I asked you this before. How far are you from San Francisco? If you were to drive there.
I'm not sure, but I'm about an hour as the crow flies, as the flow cries. That's funny.
That's a slow
Um,
crowd.
I have to say that from Los Angeles,
Okay, so San
and that's
Francisco, I
through the
think, is about
mountains
a
and desert.
6-hour drive north. So you're closer to LA than Frisco, right? Okay.
Mhm, mhm,
My
much.
niece and her husband moved to San Francisco, so I was, at some point I'm going to be visiting them. So I was figuring I gotta get in touch with all my California peeps and see how easy it is to make a trip and visit.
Yeah, if I see even New York, which is always known for having insane gas prices, is only $5.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I would be okay with 3.95 a gallon, but I know elsewhere it's cheaper, and it's not just the gas; it's the minimum wage of $20 for fast food, in addition to the gas, drives everybody to charge more because everybody wants to eat fast food, and some people have to eat fast food because of their job or whatever. They can't bring food; they got to go out to lunch or things like that, which is actually pretty common here. Places not letting you store your lunch, saying go eat fast food. Well, I got to work an hour and a half to pay for a meal. Fuck that, you
Right.
know. and everything else. Some things are coming down, like the eggs finally came down after that nonsense.
Well, it was the
Uh,
bird flu that caused that, wasn't it?
no, it was the conglomerate of egg ranchers who
Well,
wanted to fucking stick it to us.
a
Uh,
combination thereof, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Because the fact that it could go from $20 a dozen eggs down to back to $4 for a dozen and a half eggs in a week just proves that it was just all just a scam. Uh, there was no reason for that. Hell, there was no reason for any of it when good old fashioned fire and heat killed anything, and the flu was not transmissible and blah blah blah. Just another excuse to stick it to us taxpayers. Yes, I know your feelings about California. They're the same as mine. I used to love this place, but uh, it's just getting harder and harder. And uh, yeah, eggs never got expensive here. Yeah, lucky. We actually pass someone who sells eggs. It's like there's a sign in front of somebody's house on our way to church every Sunday. Uh, they still had the sign up. And it was like, oh crap. See, another reason why we got to get up early so we can buy some eggs and just see how that works out. Because I've never actually had fresh eggs. I've only had them from the store, so I have no idea what that's like. If everybody says, "Oh, they're different," blah blah
That's what I
blah.
hear, but I'm in the same boat. Haven't had them fresh. It's 2 o'clock. I got to dip out to the dogs need a
Yeah,
walk.
me
Look at
too.
this
Me
guy.
too. It's 11
Very
here.
clearly eager to go. Look at that.
Oh, I see that. Just champing at the bit, isn't he?
Yeah. Once
Sean,
I
always a
dangle the
pleasure.
leash, he'll be up.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping in. Everybody else out there in TV land, have yourself a great day. I'll be back tomorrow with some nonsense to while away the morning with you guys. Appreciate it. Happy trails, everybody.
Bye, everybody.